Right, on the inside cover of your anthology, you will see an excerpt from The Tempest, one of Shakespeare's very renowned plays. Okay, and the theme, one of the main themes for the Olympiad actually originates from this text, and that's why they have included it. All right, so I'd like us just to have a look at it. And has anyone read The Tempest? Anyone done The Tempest? It was a grade 12 set work. You've read it? Okay. It was a grade 12 set work about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago for IB, The Tempest. Okay. Or a bit longer, I think. Okay. All right, The Tempest, in which Prospero, the exiled Duke of Milan, is about to leave the enchanted island, leaving behind the freed spirit of pure imagination, Ariel, and the earthbound half-fish monster Caliban, whom Prospero had tamed and taught until that time he attempted to rape Prospero's daughter Miranda. From that time, Caliban, now, if you unscramble those letters, Caliban becomes cannibal. Okay. All right. And Caliban's mother is a witch. Okay. Caliban's mother is a witch, according to Prospero. And so he's basically devil's spawn, our Caliban. Okay. From that time, Caliban becomes Prospero's menial laborer, no longer spoilt and petted. Prospero has to learn to have his wits about him if he's ever to be a great ruler. He must learn his own, now highlight this for me please, he must learn his own capacity for evil, as well as the constant threat of evil around him, even in the person of a trusted brother. Because in the play, if you've read it, you will know that his brother ousts him and wants to take his position of Duke of Milan, and he actually sends him off in a boat across the sea and forgets about him. Okay, and that's how Prospero ends up on this deserted island, okay, and becomes then a magician. Okay, that's part of it, right. I'm giving you the tip of the iceberg. It's quite a complex plot, actually. Okay, listen, as the play draws to a close, there is a rounding up of some of the disloyal and drunken members of the company, Sebastian and Antonio, and even though it's a tragedy, remember, Shakespeare will always have an aspect of comedy in each of his tragedies. If you look at every tragedy, there's always one comic character, often referred to as the fool, which is kind of like a jester, joker character. Okay, you'll know what it is in Romeo and Juliet. Who's the joking character in Romeo and Juliet? Mercutio, the nurse. Okay, Mercutio and the nurse. Okay, there's several. Sometimes there are multiple ones. They're not just always one. Okay, in King Lear, listen. In King Lear, it's the fool. Right, actually his character name in the play is the fool. Okay. In The Tempest, it is Sebastian and Antonia and another character called Trinculo. Okay. You can go through all the tragedies and you will find some comic element. Okay. Who have formed an alliance with Caliban, just as Prospero himself once had done. All right. Now, I'm not going to read through the text, but I want you just to go down to Prospero's words, where he says, "Mark but the badges of these men, my lords, then say if they be true. This misshapen knave," and here he's talking about Caliban, so make a note there so that you know. They could give you this text, you never know, as a point of departure. Oh, but remember, if you're taking notes, you take notes on paper. Okay, so take the notes, and then you can transfer it onto a thingy. Okay. All right. What do you call that? Sticky thingy. All right. So the misshapen knave that is being spoken about here is Caliban. Okay. Right, because he's quite grotesque. He's quite ugly to look at, like our monster in Frankenstein. Aha. There's the connection, okay? His mother was a witch, and one so strong that could control the moon, make flows and ebbs, all right? So she could affect the tides, the movement of the tides, and deal in her command without her power. What is Frankenstein about, the novel? They told us now. Power. It's a power play. Who is in control? Who is going to change the face of mankind? Those who can recreate mankind, according to Victor Frankenstein. Okay, so power is a theme that runs through all these texts. Okay, be aware of that. These three have robbed me, and this demi-devil, again, he's referring to Caliban, and he's a bastard one. Okay, so only the mother as witch. Had plotted with them to take my life. Two of these fellows you must know and own. Highlight, this thing of darkness, acknowledge mine. This thing of darkness, acknowledge mine. Okay, now what they're suggesting here, and I want you to highlight this whole section at the bottom here. This thing of darkness, I acknowledge mine, is a theme that has fascinated many students of human nature. The great student of the mind, Carl Jung, whose driving belief lay in revealing man's obsession with finding significance beyond himself, acknowledges the dark side of the subconscious. Okay, now we're going to delve into that a little bit, and some of it may scare you, all right? Because I need to ask you up front, raise your hand if you're always kind. And so you giggle. Right, because you're fooling yourself if you think you are. Okay. And of course you're not going to raise your hand if you're always cruel. But they coexist. Kindness and cruelty coexist. Love and hatred coexist. Right, exactly. Okay, so what I'm saying is the following. Right, in a lot of these texts, what's happening is we are delving into the psyche of mankind, where when I ask you the question, are you always kind or always cruel? You're only kind if you perceive what the person is doing to be matching your belief system. Yes? Then you're kind to them. Or if they're doing what you want them to do. Or if they're supporting you. So if you perceive the person is supporting you, you'll be kind to them. If you perceive the person to be challenging you, you'll be cruel to them. That's why your teachers are cruel and kind. Okay, because they are kind to you when you do your homework, and they're cruel to you when you don't. Okay, because you are supporting their value system. Homework from a teacher's perspective is important. Okay, from your perspective, you're going, nah, I'd rather watch Thug Notes. Okay. You with me? Okay, so I want you to just keep that in mind. That's the tip of the iceberg of where we're going, especially when we look at Frankenstein. So with that, I want you please to turn to the foreword. And it's vital that we work through this. We're already 4:10. I can tell you now we're not going to finish Frankenstein today, but I'm not disappointed in that. It was not my aim to do that. I need to be thorough with you. Okay, would you agree? Would you prefer me to be thorough, okay? And not just flit over and go, okay, self-study, self-study. The initial lecture was going to go a little bit slower because I need to ease you into this way of critically analyzing a text. Okay, so don't go home to your parents and now say, oh, we only got through 2 pages of the anthology, like really? Okay, I'm giving you a global perspective today, so now we can go forth and delve deeper. Okay, that's what we need to do. Right. Now, the foreword, I want you to highlight the following, please. Okay. Because often I find, and I'm working through this pedantically again, because I find English Olympiad students tend to flit over the foreword. A lot of people don't read the foreword. They just go, okay, she told me to read pages 7 to 21, so that's what I'm going to do. How many of you did that and didn't read the foreword? Just to have a show of hands. Who didn't read the foreword? No, I just want to know. There we go. Okay. Having read the foreword, you may have had a different perspective on the text. So let's go in. Okay. Right. Now, please listen and have your highlighters ready or to underline. Would it not be great if good and evil could be separated as they are in anime and in Marvel comics, where the evil characters, the Iago, from which Shakespearean play? Othello, Iago is the evil mastermind, okay? Would you agree that there is no story on earth that doesn't have a perceived goodie or a perceived baddie? Otherwise you don't have a story. Because there's no potential conflict. So without the conflict, you remember that Listen. Do you remember that diagram I drew for you last week? The famous one?
Yeah.
The camel's hump. Do you remember the camel's hump? Okay. Let me just draw it here. Oops. Okay. Not all going to fit. Whoa, this way. There we go. Okay. Remember, climax or crisis. Just zip it out a bit. Okay. The blonde does have a brain. Yeah. Okay, climax. Okay, remember then your intro. Okay, and your conclusion. Right. Remember that was development. I'm writing very ugly. Oh, development of plot, characterization, and then these are your consequences. Okay, consequences. Okay, of the main thing that happens. To have that climax or that crisis, in other words, the main event, something has to happen. Okay, and in that occurrence, we usually have conflict. We have two sides clashing. So if you don't have those two sides, I'm afraid you don't have a story. And then you have nothing to write about. That because you won't be able to engage people. Because as a writer, you are engaging your reader all the time because you're influencing them to either support a particular character in a novel or a play, or you are encouraging them to challenge. Okay, so you label and you stereotype already up front, and then you unpack it, and by the end of the novel, they have more sympathy with the perceived baddie at the beginning than what they have with the perceived goodie at the beginning. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what's happening here. All right. Okay, let's read a bit further. All right. Okay, there. Okay, so if we think about the Marvel comics, let's think for a second. Spider-Man is the goodie. Who's the baddie? The Green Goblin. Okay. Superman is the goodie. Who's the baddie? Lex Luthor. Remember? Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's the baddie. Okay. Right. Listen. Okay. I'm trying to show you how this is not a new theme. This is an old theme that just reinvents itself all the time. Okay. Batman. Who's the baddie? The Joker. Okay. Star Wars. Who's the baddie? Darth Vader. Okay, there we go. I can do the breathing. Okay. So, have I proven my point? Okay. Good and evil coexist. Right. Now, let's see what they say. Listen. Good is personified. Follow, please, in your text on page 5, paragraph 1. Good is personified by stereotypical qualities of strength. Highlight this, please. Highlight this. Good is personified by stereotypical qualities of strength and altruism. Evil by qualities that are loathsome, selfish, and cruel. And what we need to realize is that everyone has the potential to be selfish, and everyone has the potential to be cruel. And you are just as much an altruist as what you are a narcissist. So what do I mean by that? Let's have a look. Okay. Altruism. Come on. Here we go. All right. Altruism versus narcissism. Narcissistic. Okay, I've just said narcissistic. Okay, narcissism. So, if often we judge other people for being narcissistic. Oh, she's so full of herself. She only thinks of herself. She's narcissistic. In other words, it's all about her. Okay. So if you classify someone as a narcissist, it's all about that person. If you classify them as an altruist, it's all about other people. So you do everything for others and you forget about you. Are either of those healthy? No. When they are off the charts. Okay. So if you are excessively altruistic, you're forgetting about you and your contribution to the world. If you're excessively narcissistic, then you're forgetting that you're actually part of the world and you're part of a community and that you can serve within that community. So you need to strike the balance. So what I want to suggest to you today is that you think of this in a very different way, and I'm challenging you on this. Everyone